Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Pat's Travel Pass. We're celebrating 1 year of the channel today, and we're throwing it back to our very first video, Lufthansa First Class. We're in Vienna. We got to get to Frankfurt. Let's go. The route today is Frankfurt to Mexico City on Lufthansa Airlines flight number 498 on the 747-8, and we'll be in Lufthansa First Class in seats 2K and 3K. By transferring 200,000 Chase points over to Air Canada, we were each able to secure a first-class seat for 100,000 Aeroplan points each to be in Lufthansa First Class. Now, Austrian Airlines lost our bag, and that was quite a debacle, as I'll touch on later, but we quickly made our way over to the Lufthansa First Class terminal. Now, the entrance is pretty underwhelming, as all you have is this little table and a lobby sign. But once you enter, they got buffet, endless, an a la carte restaurant, a open bar with 100 different whiskeys, a study area, and showers. Now let's do a little housekeeping here on where we are. Entrance from the bottom right, you come in, there's plenty of seating. As you turn to the right, there's a long hallway with the bar and a la carte restaurant and buffet on the right. Showers and restrooms are at the very end, with a cigar room on the left and sleeping rooms on the right as you go down that hallway. Most Lufthansa First flights do take off heading west in the afternoon or late morning. Our flight was scheduled for around 2 p.m., so we had plenty of time to try out the a la carte restaurant here, as it was still breakfast until 11 a.m. We started off with a couple samplers, chocolate and some sweets from the jars around. I ordered a cappuccino, which was pretty good, as well as some overnight oats and an omelet. And it was excellent, although they did get one of the orders incorrect and they didn't write it down, which was one of my pet peeves. Now, if you go back and watch my very first video a year ago, we sat in 1A, and today we're going to be trying 3K to see how the service stacks up a year later and in a different seat. Now, when you go up the elevator from that underwhelming lobby, you're greeted promptly by a staff member of the Lufthansa team. They escort you through a private security line, take your passports, and come back eventually with your boarding passes, your 2 complimentary ducks, and any questions or concerns that you have, they'll be happy to answer, but they are really looking after you the entire time. Speaking of looking after you, Austrian Airlines have actually lost our checked luggage, and unfortunately Lufthansa outside the first class terminal was unable to really help us, and their excuse was nobody's really working today. Now, that just baffled both of us, and so when I brought this up to our personal staff member, they dropped everything to get us in a car to go find our luggage, and it was found extremely promptly. So I got 2 rides in a Porsche today. Walking towards our shower that we reserved, there's about 5 rooms, one having a bubble bath, which was featured on our original video. This is just a regular shower room, as we just wanted to see how it compared to the bubble bathroom. Pretty much the exact same thing, except a little bit smaller, since there is no bathtub. You got to bring your ducks in to make it a complete experience, but provided slippers, robe, as well as some lotions, cotton swabs, makeup removers. You have a hair dryer, which was actually really nice, plenty of towels, and then a private shower. It had all your usual suspects: body wash, shampoo, and conditioner. Within this private shower room is also a private restroom, which is a nice touch. I could see just putting showers, people would spend quite a bit of time getting themselves ready and be running back and forth to go use the restroom. So I like that addition. Once out of the shower with robe on, had to try out all the amenities, including the hair dryer. But walking out of the shower room, bathrooms on the right, here is where you would sign up for your shower or bath experience. And they had all sorts of amenities that you could imagine: razor, deodorant, toothpaste. Here's a look at an actual restroom that was just to the right of this check-in table, but 4 private restrooms, sliding glass doors, which was pretty awesome, in between the sinks and the restrooms. And now we're walking back towards the buffet and a la carte restaurant. Here are the 2 sleeping rooms, the cigar lounge again on the right, a la carte on the left, and then seating, which is ample throughout. And here is a look at the fully stocked bar, over 100 whiskeys, and you'll see we'll do a little tasting later. Now this flight was taking off on New Year's Day 2025, which was pretty exciting. They still had Christmas ducks for us, but we were able to swap out one for a traditional duck since we didn't have any duplicates. And once we received those, we quickly got into our whiskey tasting. 3 Japanese whiskeys, which I missed out on our last flight. They were excellent. Then I asked for an old fashioned. It probably took about 5 minutes to make, but man, was this good. I had to get a second afterwards. Speaking of ducks, they have all past ducks that you could imagine. COVID ducks, colorful ducks, even our Christmas duck from the last one. They're all in these encasements, so it's kind of like a mini museum as you go through. Found ourselves some seating with our cocktail and just kind of enjoyed relaxing. Our flight ended up being about 2 hours delayed, and so due to that baggage debacle from Austrian Airlines, we actually were 2 hours short, and so it was nice to get it back. But all right, it's time for the flight. Let's focus in. We're in seat 3K, which is in the nose. I wouldn't say it's ahead of the pilots, but maybe underneath. As you can see here, top left corner, you have the 8 first class seats. We're in 3K. And then if you just watched our Lufthansa A340 business video, you saw that I got an avionic, which was the first time I've gotten it. Ordered it here again, freshly made, and it was just as good. One interesting thing is that since there's 8 first class seats on each aircraft that have the first class cabin, you kind of figure out who's on your plane based on when someone's staff member, dedicated staff member, comes up to them and provides an update. So the people behind us ended up being all on our flight. Just over the time spent, you kind of figure it out. Next to the buffet is a self-serve wine bar, so even if you don't want something from the bar, you can always self-serve, which is nice. But now it's time to board. Our dedicated staff member came and got us, put us in an elevator to go back down to ground level. As we exited, we were given our passports, scanned boarding pass, and voila, our second ride in a Porsche Cayenne today. Now, usually they put individual parties in each car, but we had one individual who was in our first class cabin join us in the front passenger seat, which I've never seen on any review, so wasn't difficult as we were at the absolute first gate. All in all, our ride was about 30 seconds, but man, look at this view right here. After some pictures by the driver of us in front of the plane, we enter in through one of these secure doorways, and guess what? We're going up another elevator. It feels kind of like a Mission Impossible kind of moment with scanning through all these doors to get in. It is pretty secure as these drivers have to lead us the way everywhere. But we made it to the jet bridge, and our 747-8 is coming into view. What a look at our first class cabin. Now each passenger gets one of these dedicated cubbies with your seat number on it, so we were able to easily put our bags in. Even though there's overhead bins, you prefer to put it back there so you don't have to actually push it up. But here's our seat, 3 kilo, wide open, huge space, and of course, a pre-departure champagne and warmed macadamia nuts. Now I was traveling with my wife here, so she was able to use the ottoman at the end of the seat, which was a nice way to start the flight. Olives were also an option if you were not a fan of macadamia nuts. But yeah, $230 for the champagne, an awesome way to start the flight. But here's a pre-look at all the goodies. We got an amenity kit by Porsche. We got slippers, pillows, blankets, all sorts of stuff. Here's a little cubby with the provided headphones, which were over the ear, a water bottle. A little bit more storage back here, which I actually utilized quite a bit as it was right where my arm was. We have all the seat controls, which are ever adjustable. As well as some presets at the top if you don't want to flip open the cover. And then we have our in-flight entertainment. Now here we are settled in a little bit and a look at the cabin. 8 seats. We have 6 window seats, 3 on each side, and 2 seats in the middle, which are not window seats, but are more for couples. Personally, I like having 4. Yes, you heard that right. 4 individual windows. So I put my wife in 2K and myself in 3K, and we felt like that was adequate as you had the ottoman to chat with each other. But here we are pushed back from the stand, and the adventure begins. Make sure you bring some layers that can be taken off because there's no air vents, and Lufthansa keeps their cabins extremely warm. Now this flight is meant to depart in the early afternoon, about 2 p.m. However, we were about 2.5 hours delayed at this point and would end up actually landing in the evening. And so we would miss quite a bit of daylight, unfortunately, as we chased the sun west. Now let's tune in and listen to that takeoff. Lufthansa First passengers are treated to in-flight Wi-Fi for free. You can see there a little code in the top right. Honestly, it worked pretty good throughout the whole flight. I didn't have many issues and was able to check our location using some apps, as well as check YouTube occasionally. Here's a look at our menu. We didn't get to pick on the ground, so instead we picked once up in the sky. You got all 3 appetizers after a amuse-bouche and caviar service, and then you get to pick 1 main as well as a dessert. And then we have some of the items that you can pick afterwards once dinner service is complete. And then we had a full wine menu with 4 whites and 4 reds with everything else you could imagine. Quick bathroom tour. We got another real rose, which is a nice touch. Some face mist, as well as some lotions, and then a loo with a view, as Noel Phillips would say. Bathroom's about 2 times the regular size with a nice seat cover if you're looking to change, but yeah, nothing crazy. And now dinner service begins. Hot towel, love it to start the meal service. It was actually really hot, so you had to kind of get it to cool down pretty quick. Now for beverages, I told the flight attendant that I'd like to do a wine tasting of all the reds, so that's 4. And he kept it going and remembered which ones I was on. Amuse-bouche to start, which is a sweet potato with caramelized corn. And then we went on to the second wine here. A little cheap for what I would expect Lufthansa to provide. You'll see here that the wines are not too expensive. Love that the table can push back, so you can go in and out of your seat to the restroom or anywhere on the plane as you please, but love that the table can push back. On to wine number 3, again, pretty cheap, unless I was really looking at the wrong one. But here we are, table set, whipped butter, olive oil, these cute little salt and pepper shakers, some water and wine. You got all the basic food groups here, as well as some bread. And we love to see the pile of caviar there, along with the appetizers. Appetizer options are flame duck breast, king crab, roasted celeriac, and lamb's lettuce. But first, caviar. It looks just as good as it did a year ago, but you have the chopped onion, the egg yolk and egg white, as well as some pieces of bread, glass of champagne to go with it, along with some silverware with the emblem at the bottom of the handle, which I love, and it was just a great way to kick off the meal service. Now, while there were 4 appetizers on the printed menu, we only got 3, the king crab, the celeriac, and the roasted duck, but they were all good. I remember on the flight a year ago, we had pigeon and some other things that were just kind of abnormal, and it just wasn't my flavor, but this was excellent. Now, there is a soup option, however, I passed on it as that filled me up because I wanted to eat all of our main here. That's right, we got the surf and turf, a beef fillet with lobster tail served with spring vegetables and polenta. Now the beef, a little overcooked, however, it just really cut like butter. This knife, a butter knife, really did the job. And here we are, wanted something a little bit more savory to go with our 4th wine of the night, a little bit more expensive. Cheese plate with some fruit, it was excellent as we are a part of the Clean Plate Club again, and that completed our dinner service. Folded away the table and just kind of took in the first class seat and really enjoyed it. Asked my wife how her meal was, which was excellent. She also got the surf and turf, and kind of just thought about if I wanted to go to bed or not at this point. But you can see here we've been flying for about 2 hours now, so dinner service did take a decent bit of time. When on the ground, Lufthansa flight attendants will ask you what size you are for pajamas provided. Went back to the restroom to change after dinner and get a bit more comfy before, you already guessed it, second dessert. Because that savory, as good as it was, needed to cap it off with something a little sweet, along with the provided chocolates and some Baileys as well. It really just put a perfect ending to the meal service. And here's a look at the provided headphones. They are over the ear and actually not too bad. I ended up just using my own though. All right, let's take a peek at this hard shell amenity kit. I will note that this was for men only, and my wife was the only gal in the first class cabin, and she got a more thin vertical amenity kit, which had more lotions and actually had different pieces in here, like no shoehorn, and the comb was different. But you can see here, shoehorn, mint, I won't call them earmuffs, but ear covers, socks, comb, eye mask, earplugs, toothbrush, and some lotion. So pretty much had the same stuff from the business class amenity kit, except the outer shell is a little bit nicer. But yeah, I guess the comb was an addition, but pretty similar. So, all right, let's look now at the bed. This is why we book first class. Now, it was huge. I had no issues being a side sleeper, back sleeper, spreading out, the footwell, non-existent. You had plenty of space, and here is the partition wall that comes up. It's got to be down for takeoff and landing, but as you put it up and you lay back, you can't really see the people to your left, and you can't really see anyone in front of you as long as they're sitting down. And so I really didn't feel too exposed, which is a big complaint. But anyways, got about 6.5 hours of uninterrupted sleep, which was phenomenal, and woke up to, you guessed it, another meal service. And here we are looking at the 4 windows. For some reason, I couldn't get them to actually go up, but I think I was just hitting the button wrong somehow. We went with the chicken sliders, pretty similar to what we got a year ago, but it's just something a little different. I usually don't get chicken sliders with this coleslaw, and it was excellent. And then had some vanilla ice cream with blueberry compote, which was an excellent way to cap off our meal service. Now we're only about an hour out of Mexico City, and the cabin's still pretty dark to let people sleep as needed. I was kind of using the light above my seat to keep it illuminated. But here's a look at some of the pillows and blankets we got. So 2 different pillows as well as a blanket that I never even used, because when they made the bed it was completely separate material that they brought out. But finished off the meal with a hot towel as well as our duck companions, as they didn't get to experience the full flight like we did. Had to bring them out so they could enjoy it. The same chocolates from the business class that they gave us, which was a nice touch. And this is not Mexico City, but a large city next door to it, which was pretty cool to see on our way in. And then I turned the camera on, one of the best features, the front nose camera, as you can see the start of the runway, as well as the facing down camera, which for me, a little motion sickness once you get close to the ground. But yeah, flight time was about 11 and a half hours total. So it is pretty good bang for your buck, as you have plenty of time to sleep as well as get 2 meal services. But we arrived in Mexico City about 2 hours late, and the same plane would be departing back to Frankfurt at about 11 p.m. that night. I think one of my critiques from my last trip on Lufthansa First was that the staff didn't come around enough, but our staff here were phenomenal. They were always checking in on us, and I cannot appreciate that enough. Thanks for the support this past year, and hope you enjoyed this review of Lufthansa's first class. We'll see you next time.